Tales from the Whistling Pixie. Written as told by Fallon Loreseeker. The Silver Sword of Haverl. Fallon woke early, his excitement keeping him from getting too much sleep. He greeted the barkeep, whose name he had learned the night before was Roger, and was surprised to see an almost full tavern as he entered the main room. Each man and a few women sat at a table quietly eating a bowl of oats and berries. Fallon made his way to an empty seat at the bar, getting greetings and praise from many of the patrons as they went. "Busy morning," he said as he settled into the stool. Roger nodded as he scooped a ladle of oats into a bowl and tossed on a few dry sugar berries. "Aye. Most come here to break their fast. To be honest, I think most don't like their wives' cookings," he said, with a playful smile. The half-elf happily took the steaming bowl. He loved sugar berries, and would pick them any time he ran across the bunch. He wondered absently where the oats came from, but he really didn't need to know to enjoy his meal. "How much for the bowl?" he asked after a few bites. "On the house. You told quite the tales last night." Fallon shook his spoon at the barkeep. "Oh no, you've already given me plenty for my performance last night. I insist on paying," he said, narrowing his eyes at Roger. Roger raised his hands in mock surrender. I have it your way then," he said, naming a fair price. Fallon paid it without complaint, finished the last of his oat, and set the bowl down with satisfaction. He pushed back his raven hair and looked around the busy room one last time. "Roger," he said, lowering his voice, "you wouldn't happen to know anything about a place called Grigellin?" The barkeep's expression shifted. Not quite fear, but something close to it. He leaned in and spoke quietly. "Only rumors, and none of them good. You'd be wanting the library in Crimdloric for anything more than that." He straightened and went back to wiping the bar, pushing the ever-present white salt dust from one end to the other. "What business would a bar have in a place like that?" Fallon smiled a wily smile. "The best kind," he said, and left it at that. He stood and started away, but turned back. "Anyone around here that might be looking for work?" Fallon asked before he left. Roger looked at him with slight surprise. "Work? What kind of work?" The bard slid back onto the stool. "Honestly, what I need most is muscle. Any strong lads or warriors here in town who would be up for an adventure?" The barkeep scratched his scraggly beard. "Well, I know of one fool who might go with ye, but not sure ye be wanting to take him." Fallon tilted his head slightly. "Why? Untrustworthy?" Roger laughed. "Oh, nay, he's just as dumb as a stump, but built like a bull and as strong as one." Fallon considered this for a moment. "Where would I find this bull?" Roger jerked his thumb toward the door. "Same place he is every morning. End of the main road by the quarry entrance. Name's Brom. Hard to miss. He's the biggest one there." Fallon dropped a few coins on the bar, gathered his pack, and gave Roger a slight bow. "My thanks for everything." The barkeep waved him off with his rag, already turning back to his customers. "Good luck to you, bard. You'll be needing it." Fallon headed to where Roger had pointed, and sure enough, he found the large man the barkeep had spoken of, arguing with another man by the quarry entrance. Fallon moved in closer and overheard their conversation. "Done told you, Brom. Like I tell you every morning, I can't use you." Not after the last time, the quarry manager said as he started walking away. The big man stepped closer. It's not me fault them picks broke. I was just swinging like you told me. Broke the rocks, didn't we? The other men stopped and turned back. You broke 4 picks in less than a half a day. And before that, you broke William's foot when you dropped the boulder on him. I can't afford having you work the place. The big man stood there watching as the quarry manager walked away, his enormous shoulders slumped, turning his worn cap in his hands like a child who'd just been scolded. Fallon studied him for a moment. Roger hadn't been exaggerating. Brom was a head taller than any man in the yard, with arms like mill wheels and hands that could palm a boulder. He was young, no more than 20, with short, choppy, dark brown hair that looked to have been cut by someone who loved him more than they knew how to use scissors. His hazel eyes held more hurt than anger, and his face, broad and honest, was the kind that made people trust him before he even opened his mouth. He stood straight and tall, even in disappointment, shoulders back, carrying his size with an unconscious pride that most men his age hadn't earned yet. Fallon straightened his pack and walked over him. Rough morning? Brom turned and looked down at him. They don't want me no more. He looked the man up and down, not entirely sure what the man's talents were beyond his size. I could use someone of your size. How are you when it comes to a fight? Brom's shoulders perked up a little. Be honest, not been in many scrapes. People try not to make me mad. But them that did, well, they woke up not too happy. And me once killed a wolf with me bare hands, he said proudly. Fallon nodded slowly, turning the information over. A man that size, with hands that strangled a wolf, wandering around a quarry yard with nowhere to go. It wasn't exactly the seasoned warrior he had imagined. Then again, seasoned warriors tended to ask too many questions and charge too much coin. How would you like an adventure? Fallon asked. Brom's brow narrowed. What kind of adventure? The kind that takes you somewhere you've never been, doing something you've never done. Fallon spread his hands. I need someone to watch my back while I look for something. Dangerous road, possibly dangerous destination. I can offer fair pay, and I promise you won't be bored. Brom considered this with great seriousness. Do I get to hit things? Fallon smiled. Almost certainly. When we leave and how long we gone? Fallon thought for a moment. We leave today. And as for how long, he tilted his head slightly. Honestly, I'm not entirely sure. Long enough to find what I'm looking for. Short enough that we don't get killed trying. He stuck out his hand. What do you say? Brom looked at the hand, then back at the quarry where the manager had disappeared inside, then back to Fallon. He took the hand and shook it once, nearly pulling the half-elf off his feet. Maybe, and he said simply. Fallon winced and flexed his fingers, making a mental note never to let Brom shake his hand again. Wonderful. Do you have a horse? Brom shook his head. No horse. May just be walking. The half-elf glanced at the size of the man and decided that was probably the best. No horse in Crimcairn looked capable of carrying him anyways. First gotta get me things. Can't go without saying bye to me mother. She would be cross, and me don't want her cross. And you can say hello and tell her where we're going before we go. Fallon looked at the big man and wondered whether he really wanted to meet someone who scared him. Of course, Fallon said carefully. Lead the way. Brom's house was not hard to find. It was the one with a reinforced door frame. A small but tidy house near the edge of the village. with a well-kept garden out front that seemed at odds with the chaos its occupant left everywhere else. Before Brom could even reach the handle, the door swung open. She was not a large woman. In fact, she was quite small, which made it all the more remarkable that Brom's considerable size seemed to shrink the moment she appeared in the doorway. She had sharp eyes that missed nothing, wiping her hands on her apron as she looked from Son to the half-elf standing beside him. "Who it is, then?" she asked, her eyes settling on Fallon with the particular scrutiny of a woman who had spent a lifetime cleaning up after her son's decisions. Fallon gave his most charming bow. "Fallon Loreseeker, madam. Bard and historian. At your service." Her eyes narrowed. And what does a bard want with me boy?" Brom made his way inside the dwelling as Fallon stood nervously at the door, the old woman eyeing him. "Well, I would like to have him join my expedition to search for a lost item." Funny, he thought. I can stand in front of crowds, but he had never felt as nervous as he did standing before this woman. She eyed him suspiciously. "How long ye be taking him?" The half-elf cleared his throat. "That, my dear woman, I am unclear of. I would hazard a guess a while." She smiled a wide smile. "That sounds good. Me love me boy, but he eats us out of house and home. My husband can barely afford it, and with the boy not being able to keep a job." A few minutes later, Brom was back at the door, gently slinging a large pack over one shoulder and hefting a two-handed maul into the other. "Ready," he said. He bent and kissed his mother's forehead. "Love you, Ma. Be back soon." The old woman grabbed his cheeks and returned the kiss. "Not too soon," she said. "Let's be going," Brom said and lumbered down the step. "Adventure awaits, my friend. Adventure awaits." Fallon turned and headed back towards the street. Past the quarry office and the rusty pick. Past the children already playing in the road despite the dark clouds still hanging low overhead. Brom took one last long look at the small house with the reinforced door frame. His mother already disappearing back inside, he turned and followed.